Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Sam here. I hope you're all keeping well. In today's video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be seeing if I can replace my entire guitar collection with this one $100 EQ pedal. So I'm going to try and make my Jazzmaster sound like my Strat sound like my Les Paul, and so on and so on. I don't think we'll get all the way there. I'm not sure if we'll get any of the way there. But what I think it will do is illustrate how important EQ pedals are and why you should probably consider getting one for your rig. Okay, so what is EQ and why is it important? I'm going to try and keep this part of the video really brief so that we can move on to the more interesting stuff. But essentially, if I were to play a note, or any sound for that matter, like this, there is a whole load of frequencies associated with that noise, as you can see in the EQ above me. Now if I wanted to change the volume of that note, like so, all of those frequencies will go up and down in volume in perfect unison. Now essentially what an EQ pedal allows you to do is it allows you to turn up and turn down those frequencies independently. And I mean that is essentially the basis of guitar tone. So if I wanted to have a guitar that sounded like it had a lot of highs or was maybe a little bit tinny, I could raise the highs and lower the lows. Or if I wanted to have a guitar that sounded really bassy, I could raise the lows and take down the highs. So hopefully now, if you didn't already, you've got a little bit of an understanding of what EQ is and what it does, and now we can get on to the main topic of the video. Alright guys, so I'm all set up and ready to go now. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, I'm going to be using the Boss GE-7 EQ pedal. Now this works exactly in the same way as the EQ that you saw on your screen a moment ago. You've got the overall volume on the right hand side here, and then you've got the volumes of the individual frequencies going along here with your bass frequencies here, your mids, and then your high end up here. So first up, I'm going to be seeing if I can make my Strat sound like my Les Paul, and then I'm going to be seeing if I can make my Les Paul sound like my Strat. Now, I think this is probably going to be one of the more difficult ones, just because obviously the Les Paul has the humbuckers and the Strat has the single coils, and those are just completely different pickups, not only in the way that they sound, but the way they're constructed. So I guess the first thing to do is to see what these two guitars sound like going straight into the amp, and without any pedals or anything. So this is what the Les Paul sounds like. And now this is what the Strat sounds like. So straight off the bat, I think one of the biggest things that differentiates a Les Paul from a Strat is the fact that the Les Paul really has those kind of pronounced mid and low ranges that create that really iconic Les Paul thick tone. Whereas the Strat maybe doesn't have those low mid ranges to such an extent, but it's got a lot of top end that creates that kind of really chimey kind of high end clarity that you associate with a Strat. So as a first step, I guess it would make sense to turn up those mids and lows and see how we get on with that. Right, so even doing that just really quickly, guitar sounds way thicker already. I'm going to continue to have a little bit of a mess around and see how close I can get.
A few moments later.
Alright, so I'm pretty sure I've got the Strat just about as close to the Les Paul as I can. I've raised a lot of the lows and the mids, and I've gone from something that sounds like this to something that sounds like this. So compared to the Les Paul, it sounds like this. Alright, I don't think it sounds exactly like the Les Paul, but I think it's a lot of the way there. So we've heard these two guitars in isolation, and like I said a second ago, I think they do sound a little bit different, but they certainly sound closer than they did. But I wonder how big that difference will be when you hear them in a mix rather than by themselves. So I've got a little bit of a challenge for you guys. I'm going to play exactly the same solo on my Les Paul and my Strat at the same time, and halfway through the video I'm going to cut from the Strat to the Les Paul, the Les Paul to the Strat. So it's going to be your job to determine whether the Strat was playing first or whether the Les Paul was playing first. Now this is just a little bit of fun, but it's also a really good unbiased way to really tell how different these two guitars sound. So let me know what your predictions were in the comments below, and after you've heard the two guitars I'll let you know which one was which. Alright, so what do you reckon? I've had a quick listen back myself, and I think you can still tell the difference between the two guitars fairly clearly. But that being said, I think the Strat has adopted some of those kind of thicker tones that you would normally associate with a Les Paul. And to be honest, I think if you don't have access to a Les Paul and you've got a Strat and you can get yourself an EQ pedal, then I think you can get like 70% of the way there. But anyway guys, to get down to it, it was in fact the Strat that was first, then followed by the Les Paul. And like I said, you know, I do think we made a little bit of progress there. I think they sound pretty similar, but not quite exactly the same. But anyway, now I'm going to switch that all around, and I'm going to see if I can make my Les Paul sound like my Strat. So I'm basically going to do the exact opposite to what I did with the Strat. I'm going to take a lot of those kind of mids and lows out and maybe raise those high ends just a little bit. And yeah, let's see how we get on. Alright, so I've been messing around for a while now, and I think I've pretty much got as close as I can. Now, to be perfectly honest with you, this was actually much harder than getting the Strat to sound like my Les Paul. But I'll show you what I've come up with. So completely clean before the EQ, the guitar sounds like this. And then with the EQ, it sounds like this. And this is what it sounds like compared to the Strat. Yeah, no, that hasn't really worked, has it? So that was a little bit of a failure. I think maybe we're 10-20% of the way there. So maybe it's the case that it's a lot easier to make single coils sound like humbuckers with an EQ pedal, but it's a lot harder to make humbuckers sound like single coils. Now guys, I'm sure you've all figured out the format of this video by now. So with that being said, I'm just going to run through a few more guitars really quickly, and then we'll be able to wrap things up. Alright guys, so that pretty much brings us to the end of the video. And in conclusion, I'm actually pretty surprised by some of the results we found. Coming into the video, I thought that making humbuckers sound like single coils with an EQ pedal would be a lot easier than making single coils sound like humbuckers. I think mainly because to make humbuckers sound like single coils, you tend to be cutting out frequencies to make them sound a little bit thinner. And I thought that would be easier than having to add frequencies to make it sound thicker like you would have to do making a single coil sound like a humbucker. But it was actually the complete opposite way around, and I thought that the Strat to the Les Paul sounded pretty similar, and I thought especially the Jazzmaster to the Sheraton, I thought sounded really similar. But anyway guys, I really hope you've learned something from this video. I certainly have. And I think it just goes to show how incredibly powerful EQ is as a tool. As always guys, if you did enjoy the video, I'd really appreciate a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.